how do you in a play find, in order for a play to function, it seems to me, you have to find some sort of middle ground between those two areas. How do you do it, rather than just simply say, well, that's what I think, that's what the lady on the front row thought, here's the opposite view? How do you, where in the middle do you find sympathy?
I have thought. But I mean, I think it's about that. It's and this is something we talk about all the time, is that you can't really put discourse on the stage and have it be compelling. You can put people on the stage who are going to have many different ideas, and oftentimes, as we hopefully all feel, we're wrestling with some of the notions that we have, which is certainly happening with the characters in Disgraced, where they're feeling one thing and thinking another, or their point of view is changing. And so it's in these moments of like shifting thought that we then, in that heightened moment, get to encounter the character, which ends up expressing whether it's secularity or religiosity, or the conflict of how do I live in the world as a religious, how do I live in a secular world as a religious person, which I think are certainly things that are happening in The Who and the What, and a little bit in other plays. But I think it's about what a play can do is present the human first, and and how are they wrestling with that very same question, and then the idea emerges from there, which I think Ayad does so beautifully in his writing.
What am I doing with Disgrace? I'm trying to write a contemporary tragedy. I'm trying to write a play that is going to gut the audience in the way that Aristotle talks about when he talks about tragedy. And incidentally, he talks about tragedy, he says that tragedy is catharsis, not what we mean by catharsis, the expression through pity and terror. What better way to write a contemporary American tragedy than to terrify the audience in exactly the way that they are already terrified, but at an aesthetic level to take it to a whole different place? And so that capacity to awaken our fear of life is also a doorway to understanding how to live more deeply. Let me say this about the theater, and this I really do mean. This is not a bromide, and this is not a thing I came up with to make people think that I'm smart. I believe that what happens in the theater is in some ways more vital now than it ever has been, because in a world where there is semblance of relationship, where there is semblance of presence, the theater is still about presence. It's still about relationship. It only happens here. It only happens now. It requires the presence of a performer. It requires the presence of an audience member. The word can live in a way that it cannot, mediated by a screen.
How do you, the tension that you achieved, and certainly in the two versions of this I saw before, was quite something. How did you do that?
A lot of it is sort of what Ayad's talking about plot to a certain extent, but that one of the things we talk about a lot in making this play is about how there are events that happen in the play where once they have happened, once the thing has been said, once the behavior has been behaved, that you cannot go back to the moment before, so that the play actually is moving inexorably forward and ahead even of the people who are in it. So that's what keeps us sort of abreast of it at all times. Like, so from its first incident, we've now been calling them these microaggressions that happen in the play between people, that is then going to push us to the next thing, and that it only increases in its propulsion, that it's like a physics experiment.
Microaggression? What's that?
Well, like, those little things that happen to you over the course of the day, where something happens and it kind of, it
festers.
It touches that spot of you, and most of the time, and most of us get through life where we're like, okay, I took the hit, and now I'm going to recover. I take the hit, and then I'm going to recover. But how many of those can you take in a day?
When you got 4 scotches in you.
Right. So I'm saying, how many of those can you take in a day? And then when you add in the high stakes of the circumstances of your day, then when you add in alcohol, then what happens? And so I think, in varying degrees, we've all been there in different ways. And so that's how we're doing. But I think a lot of it is about the writing that I think that Ayad is so terrific at, is that language drives action.
Your review of Disgraced was such an instance to me of what the best of criticism can be, and not just because you love Disgraced. I mean, thank you that you did, and in many ways that review got everything started for the play. But I feel like it was enthusiastic. It was unbridled in its enthusiasm for what the play was and what it could be, and it was intelligent about its critique of how to make it better. And in a way, I felt like getting outed in public with encouragement by your review was what, in a sense, gave me the hope and the sense that I could actually bring it across the finish line. And so I feel like, I don't know, I just want to acknowledge that I feel like that's just amazing that you did that, and that I don't know what else to say.
Thank
about
you.
that.
That's very kind of you. That's very kind.